If you're like me and you've been chasing that wider look, the V-taper, the shoulders that actually fill out a t-shirt, it can be frustrating when nothing seems to click. What finally worked for me wasn't doing every shoulder exercise under the sun. It was dialing in on just 2 moves that really made a difference. I'm not saying this is the only way or some magical formula, but if you want to actually see your shoulders get broader and more rounded, these are the 2 exercises that changed the game for me. Before we dive into these exercises, let's quickly break down the shoulder muscles. You've got the front delts, the side delts, and the rear delts. In my experience, a lot of people tend to overwork the front and totally neglect the rear, which leaves your shoulders looking flat from the side and behind. I learned this the hard way. For months, I focused on what felt heavy and ignored the smaller movements. What made the biggest difference for me in achieving a wider and fuller look was focusing more on the side and the rear delts. Once I understood how these muscles contribute to the V shape and the rounded appearance from different angles, my approach to shoulder training completely changed. Without further ado, here are my top 2 go-to exercises that I've been using to build a wider upper body. The first exercise is a classic, lateral raises. I used to do them with only dumbbells. And don't get me wrong, they're great. You can progressively overload them, they're fun to throw into your routine, and they definitely build strength. But I noticed that even after months of doing dumbbell raises, my shoulders weren't as wide as I wanted them to be. That's when I switched to cables. With cables, you get constant tension on the muscle throughout the entire movement, which helps with isolation and keeps the side delts under tension for longer. The smooth range of motion also lets you really focus on form, so every rep is actually working the part of the shoulder that builds width. Switching to cables wasn't a dramatic change, but that small adjustment ended up making a huge difference in how my shoulders looked and felt at the end of every session. The second exercise targets the rear delts, which, like I said, are often neglected. I used to do the standard rear delt fly, and while it works, the range of motion is limited. The movement is mostly a straight pull back, which while it still activates the muscle, there's a better way to do it. That's when I started doing the fly seated sideways on the machine, and it made a noticeable difference. You begin with your arm all the way across your chest, then move it in an arc around your body until it's straight out to the side. This extended range of motion keeps the posterior delts under tension throughout the movement, providing a more complete activation than the traditional version. Incorporating this variation helped me develop a fuller, more balanced shoulder profile that complements the width from the side delts. Focusing on these 2 exercises consistently will help you build wider, more balanced shoulders. They're simple, effective, and target the areas that really make a difference in your shoulder shape. If you commit to these movements and focus on form and tension, you'll start noticing improvements, not just in size, but in overall appearance and proportion of your shoulders. For me, these 2 exercises transformed the way my upper body looked and the way I felt in a t-shirt. And I'm confident they can do the same for you.